Hello everybody and welcome to the webinar. Elena is here and I will let her start her introductions and meditation.
Hello everybody, welcome for the 26th webinar on the 26th of August. How it aligned this number, adding to 8, and that's the number which made me a little bit conscious of myself because it's a Saturn number. So we should be prepared of any eventual issues which we would need to deal with, hopefully not. So before we start, as usually, we have a short group alignment of an energy. So please make yourself at ease. Withdraw your attention from the lower sense perceptions and achieve stillness in the 3 lower fields of the personality: physical, emotional, mental. Then raise the consciousness into the head, carrying it upwards through the astral body and the mind to the soul. Identify the personality consciousness with the soul consciousness and realize that they are one. Assume the attitude of the observer upon the mental plane and throw soul energy down into the center at the base of the spine. Then raise the soul energy slowly via the centers in the spine and via the 2 centers in the head up into the soul body upon the high mental levels. Recognize the personality is aligned with the soul, forming one unit. And there is a fusion of the individual soul with the group soul on the level of the soul on its own plane. Then link the heart center in the spine with the heart center upon the mental plane, where we find the response to group vibration. And feel the group love, uniting all the members of the group into one unit. We sound the Om together as a group. Okay, thank you. As you know, the main focus of today's webinar is detachment. Hopefully you read the instruction for June 1936, where you noticed how many times Master DK is brought up the issue of detachment, the biggest problem for this disciple. Now it is important to know that there are many phases of detachment. And as DK said to one of his disciples, that some of them imply a detachment from the world of outer sensuous attachment, or they may imply a temporary and relative detachment from the world of intellectual contacts. As an example, now a dispassionate attitude is the hallmark of the accepted disciple at the middle point between the first and second initiation, during the process in preparation for the second initiation from that point on. And it is here where we find this disciple CDP, who also happened to have one of her 3 keynotes of development, the word dispassion, as it is more appropriate for her in relation to her desire emotional nature, even though DK is using the word detachment, because it implies the other levels of her nature. Now, the lesson of detachment in relation to her emotional attachments, as we know, was hard for her to learn. But she had to master much of it prior to entering even the ashram, because she was standing on its periphery. And emotional abstraction is the hardest lesson which a disciple can master. That's why the difficulty of the second initiation. We are told that we grow by presentation of moments of crisis. But we have to face these crises with detachment and with deep inner understanding. Now it was difficult for this disciple to stand alone and detached through crisis, through any crisis. But only through the ability to stand detached could come the power which her soul could wield. She needed to stand as the observer on the mental plane and don't identify herself with circumstances. Now there is a certain type of spiritual loneliness which all disciples have to pass, particularly those taking the second initiation. This loneliness represents the test of that occult detachment which every disciple has to master. And this process of detachment we can also relate to the 3 attributes of harmlessness, which are perfect poise, completed point of view, and divine understanding. which concern attainment on various levels and can be adapted to all levels of consciousness, and also they have their correspondences with the initiatory process. We know that the perfect one, the Christ himself, has achieved these three attributes of harmlessness when taking the sixth initiation. Now we're going to attempt to relate them to the level of consciousness of this disciple who was facing the second initiation and had to first achieve the inner poise related to the perfect poise. As DK told her in the very first instruction in 1931, if those of you who follow this webinar remember, we were dealing with, when he said to her, achieve that inner poise which faces all that come into the light of the eternal. This was the reference to this first attribute of harmlessness, the perfect poise. He was asking her to stand with balance and peace in the light of the soul. The soul, with its faculty of omniscience and its freedom from past, present, and future, lives in the consciousness of the eternal now, which obviously is realized in its initial stage by the initiate of the third initiation and after. For her to achieve this inner poise required detachment and freedom from emotional interference and the control of the astral body, and also the practice of divine indifference, as we will see he was telling her in one of the instructions which is still in front of us to look at. So this inner poise, when achieved on soul levels, will remove glamour and those emotional reactions which have been blocking the channel and preparing the way for the observer to see clearly. A completed point of view, which is the second attribute of harmlessness, refers for her to function as a soul, attaining the attitude of observer and knowing herself to be the controlling soul. Now this is achieved by the development of detachment and discrimination. And she unfortunately lacked both of these qualities. A complete, all-around, wide vision of the soul, experience on the soul levels, will clear the channel for the inflow of pure love, which is one of her three keynotes of development formula, standing for P, CDP, pure love. Divine understanding, the third attribute of harmlessness as a soul quality, indicates a mind held steadily in the light for this disciple, reflecting the pure love or pure reason which qualifies the reflections of the Son of Mind, the soul on its own plane. This mirror the formula given to her by DK in the second instruction, which is found in DINA 1, page 506, when he said, to quote, "Let the pure light of reason, pure reason, and understanding dispel the fogs in which I long have walked. Let the mists disappear, and let the clouds of care disperse within the radiant light of the sun," the soul obviously, "which shines ever in the fog. That sun is found in my mind, that is standing in the light of the soul. Within that sun I stand." Again, those of you will remember this formula, which was tailored only to her, nobody else. And we have discussed this formula in greater details. Now, pure love is free from its emotional quality. We are told pure love or pure reason are synonymous terms. They are reflecting, you see, a loving understanding, which is a Buddhic quality. And this disciple was on astral Buddhic line and was approaching this Buddhic quality. That's why DK is mentioning that pure reason, even in that formula, and one of her keywords being pure love. And in this seventh instruction, which we are dealing with, DK was asking her to love with pure love when he said, "I ask you to love more truly. Your strength and detachment have never yet been used. I ask you not to cease from loving, but I ask you to love as a soul and less as a personality." And that is on page 517, DINA 1. And now, what I will do, I will put up on your screen the first extraction from this instruction we are discussing, where he is starting to talk about detachment in relation to the sannyasin, when he says, "But you could help more definitely and consciously if you could free yourself from ties and begin to function in your home and in all your relationships as a true sannyasin. This I earlier pointed out to you. I called you definitely to the path of the sannyasin, but you are still only playing around the fringe of that idea. For you, it is a symbol of a detachment which you erroneously feel you cannot achieve. You underrate yourself, my brother." Now, DINA 1, 516. Okay. Now again, the first time he mentioned sannyasin, as he says here, that he earlier pointed out to her, was in the very first instruction in 1931, where he told her to be the sannyasin for the remainder of her life, and in detachment seek to serve the plant. And so at that time we discussed sannyasin in much greater detail, so I recommend for those who have not participated at that webinar to really go and listen to it. Here in the passage from this instruction, which is on your screen.
No, it's not, Elena. Do you want me to make you the presenter?
You mean you didn't hear a word?
Yes, we heard everything that you said and you read it out, but I'm still showing my screen. You're not showing your screen yet.
No, because I want that instruction to be on the screen.
Okay, then I'm going to make you the presenter, so hold on just 1 second. Now it's
okay.
you. All right.
Okay.
There you go. Now we can see it. Thank you.
Okay. Did you hear me when we read this?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So I don't know if you heard me when I was saying that he started to tell her about sannyasin at the very first instruction in 1931, where we have discussed the stage of sannyasin in greater detail. So for those who did not participate, I would recommend to listen to that. Here in this passage on your screen, DK is telling her that for her, sannyasin is a symbol of a detachment, which she wrongly feels she cannot achieve. Obviously, because she disassociates that detachment with her emotional attachment to those she loves. Now, the outstanding characteristic of the true sannyasin is the inner detachment from personalities, holding nobody to him in bondage of attachment. The whole inner life of sannyasin, you see, this becomes a process of a planned withdrawing or abstraction from all what holding the soul in the form. It is actually an attitude of mind affecting primarily the entire life tendency of the whole personality, involving the physical, emotional, and mental bodies, and thus it is primarily a mental activity. The process of detachment itself is applied primarily to the astral emotional nature and to the desire life, and thus to all attachments involving the desire nature. The inner mental withdrawing involves not only the detachment of the desire nature from that which is desired for a very long period of time, forming a long habit, bringing influence of the moon, but it also involves a complete readjustment, bringing chiron energy of the whole personality to the world of souls, or the fifth kingdom. So it appears that CDP sannyasin represented the symbol of emotional detachment. That's why she thought she couldn't achieve it. She knew she had to walk free without holding to those she loved to herself in the bonds of attachment. And this represented for her an almost impossible task, at least the way she saw it. Now the path of sannyasin is related to the 50-year cycle of Chiron. And thus Chiron influence is also conditioning not only the process of detachment, but the entire life tendency of the whole personality, ruled by Mars and Moon. We have here immediately emerging a triangle, Chiron, Mars, Moon. He was asking most or probably all of his disciples to become sannyasin. And ideally, it should be reached where we should put our feet on the path of sannyasin when we become 50 years old. So it is a process. There were only, from about 50 of them, only 3 actually achieved to become sannyasin in that life. And all of them were on different stages of the path and the initiatory process. Okay? So, for this reason, Chiron influence is primary to consider and look also astrologically, because it conditioning not only sannyasin, but also detachment, because detachment is part of the sannyasin process of mental withdrawing from the whole threefold personality. Now, I will briefly, hopefully successfully, put up the natal chart of CVP here. You see it on the screen, yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, you see the natal moon is in Scorpio. In the 5th house area, particularly in relation to this disciple, where her love to her children. And this moon, not surprisingly, holds the midpoint Mars Chiron, which falls in 12-degree Taurus, 33 minutes, right opposite that moon, 12-degree, 22 Scorpio. So we have this most important triangle here in relation to the sannyasin and detachment process. Moon, Mars, Chiron. Very important combination of energies, which indicates the complete readjustment of the whole personality. Now, I will try to successfully again to bring, which you see I shouldn't have even said that, because my program shut down and I need to reactivate it. Well, I hope it happens only once, like in the last sorry about this, but this is unfortunate, something which is happening with this program. And as we see here, BL, the quadra wheel now jumped to its original, and okay. I would need to,
okay.
I will try to deal with this. Okay, we see how it will go. If you, yeah.
Collapse your panel.
Well, if I do that.
Not that one. Okay, that works too. Okay, now you can make this bigger. Go right, I mean left.
Going left. Ay, 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 ay.
Okay.
I don't know how.
Okay, just hold it a second. Take the top of the page, the blue part right there, the light blue part. No, okay, that works too. Just take it and click on that blue part up there and drag it to the top. Not that one. Okay, go back up where it says animate page. A little bit higher. A little bit higher. Okay, now this blue part here, just click on it and drag it to the top right, top left corner of your screen. Okay, okay, just flat out click on it and move the whole thing. Okay, that works, that works. Get your little arrow and drag it over to the left.
It's only how to find it.
There, you got it. Now drag it as far to the left as you could go. There you go. Now that works.
Can it work like this?
I can see it fine.
Okay.
I hope
Good.
everybody else can too.
Sorry about this, but you know, as I warned you at the beginning, I was expecting some problems here, but it does not such a big one. We can't deal with them. So I am going to bring the quadra wheel to 30 June 1936. Please remember that the instruction for this June 1936 cover all the months until the end of the year, until December, because January she was given, 1937, a new instruction. So all the energies activated through these 6 months, we will try to allocate, okay, purely from the perspective or from the perspective of the topic under discussion, which is detachment in relation also to that sannyasin, because they are related. Okay? So here, on this date, I just, when I brought, you know, to your attention the triangle, which was it, the Moon, Mars, Chiron, yes? And now, what I would like to bring to your attention here, just one thing on this date, that the transiting Chiron you see, is moving here through the 12th house, 18 degree Gemini 53, reached now the Moon Chiron midpoint, which happens to fall in 3 Leo in this area. You see that solar queen is approaching to it also. And so it is forming a new triangle now with the Chiron, Moon Chiron. So you see, we are dealing with the adjusting energies to the personality, okay, represented by the moon. And before it was Mars. So both planets, Mars and Moon, are related to Chiron, the adjusting energy. Okay? And so that is important that you realize this from the very beginning, because these are the fundamental energies which are involved in this process. Okay? Now, I will bring the wheel to 17 of October, where we see the solar arc, Chiron. You see both Chiron are moving through the same area, 12th house, and through Gemini. Interesting, isn't it? It has reached another very important midpoint, which is the midpoint between MC and Ascendant, falling in 9 degrees Scorpio here, 05. 2405, 9 degrees 05. You astrologers know what aspect exactly that is. Yes, sesquiquadrate. And this represents a major adjustment in her life direction, because it involves all the anchors of the chart, basically. Okay? And interestingly enough, that the Ascendant MC midpoint falls in Scorpio, in the same area where the moon is. Okay? We see that transiting Chiron is moving through the 12th house area of bondage, attachment, renunciation, fear, and bringing all the qualities which is related to this process for this disciple. Okay? A major test was the test of fear with that moon, which I already, I thought, mentioned it. Okay? Now, this is the laborious process that I have to go through, adjusting the wheel continuously to different dates, which I have sort of selected for a particular purpose, where we see certain important aspects coming together through those months from June to December. Having said that, there is so much more here that we're going to discuss for the time available we have. So those of you who are astrologers have just some indication, you know, of the process to take in this. Here, what we're going to look is just a moment. We passed the progress moon, you see here, 2452. A very important planet has jumped from 7 to 8 house, moving to the Scorpio house. You see? 2452. At this date, okay? And it is the area particularly of astral energy, astral detachment for her with that moon. And generally that is the area dealing with the relinquishment energies and detachment. Just a moment. I should have maybe showed you also this as we are talking about this moon. And that you see that progress moon is in that, it's in the 24 Capricorn 07. And it is quincunx, the Chiron, solar arc Chiron at 24 Gemini 06. You see that? It is exact aspect which depend on really the time, because we are, it is related to the moon, which moves always faster. So we have an exact quincunx relationship moon Chiron. Okay. And now I will bring the wheel to December 16. And this is something fundamental again to consider here with all the other relationship, because what we have here, that the solar progress moon at 12 Taurus 22 reach exact opposition to that natal moon at 12 Scorpio 22. Okay? Now this is another fundamental relationship here, because the moon, the natal moon, carries a midpoint of Mars Chiron, which falls at 12 degrees 33 Taurus. So this opposition, actually, we have a reinforcement and the importance of the moon, Chiron and Mars triangle, with additional energy of the Dharma point, which is the MC. Okay? The solar arc Neptune over here at 0 Cancer 54 has reached an exact square to the Uranus, another important planet, at 15 Leo 54, exact on the same day as this MC moon opposition. Okay? And the Uranus, the natal Uranus, has its own midpoint of Mars Neptune, which falls at 15 Taurus 53, exact within 1 minute, creating Mars, Uranus, Neptune triangle of energies. And this contributing to the process of inner mental withdrawing of the personality and of the detachment from the emotional desire nature. We will be coming back to that Uranus. Why Uranus is becoming involved, okay? And as you know, Mars-Neptune midpoint is related to many other things, like the glamour is a powerful six-ray combination of energies. But in this case, with the Uranus involvement, it's bringing not only mental energy, but also detaching energy from all the levels of the personality. Okay? Now, 29 of November, what we want to see here, you remember in the last webinar we already looked at this very important contact, Uranus 14, Libra 29, sesquiquadrat exactly the natal Mars 29, Taurus 29. But at that time we were relating it to some different qualities there. Here, Uranus, you see, is bringing the Mars-Neptune midpoint, this time by solar arc midpoint. We have a natal midpoints, but you know, we can consider also progressed, not progressed, but solar arc progressed midpoint, because the Uranus, it's solar arc progressing with its own now progressed solar arc Mars-Neptune midpoint, which falls in 14 Cancer, in this area, 27, okay? And that automatically becomes related to that Mars too, you see? So we have Mars-Neptune combination appearing there also with this. We note that in this contact of Uranus to Mars, I mean the solar arc, Uranus to natal Mars, there is an emphasis on the relinquishment of desire, particularly, and of relinquishment of the attachment to the personality for this disciple, and increased subjective activity upon the level of the soul, 12th house, on its own plane, through that 12th house Mars, with its peak position of the Mars-Uranus-Neptune triangle. It means the Mars-Neptune midpoint on that solar arc, Uranus. So we have this combination of energies bringing this process together. And in the Uranus-Neptune contact, okay, we have emphasis on devotion, idealism, 11th house, both Neptunes there, natal, progressed, okay? And the realization of the pure reason and pure love represented by that Neptune being at the peak of that triangle. Okay? Now Uranus, we had the Mars at the peak, bringing that particular energy which we discussed, and Neptune bringing the other energy, okay? And the Uranian energy acts as the balancing, detaching, freeing agent, you see, and directing the energy to the mental plane. Uranus is moving through the 3rd house, ruling the 9th house. Okay? Conditioning a mental lower and higher mind. Now, Uranus is an important planet in development of detachment and of this inner mental withdrawal process of the sannyasi. Okay? It is further indicated in the natal chart here, this first inner wheel. I don't want to keep going to the natal chart itself, not damaging already what we have on the screen here. It is already the potential of this process of sannyasa and detachment indicated in the natal chart with the Uranus making square to the moon and a trine to the sun. You see? Thus bringing the relation of the sun ruler of Leo, where it's placed the Uranus, okay? And in Aries, which is a higher mental plane energy, and the square to the moon in Scorpio, where Uranus has its exaltation. There is a powerful relationship also with that moon progressing through the Scorpio house. Okay? These are all related energies, you see, to this process, which we are considering. Okay? So, now I will bring the wheel to the 25th of December. Where we see the transiting Chiron at 19 Gemini 44 has reached exact conjunction to the progressed Sun, 19 Gemini 44. Okay? Now, this contact is reflecting the Sun-Chiron conjunction natally in Aries, which gave the potential of the inferiority complex this disciple suffered. Self-depreciation. Okay? As DK is saying to her, you underrate yourself, my brother. She did not trust her strength. That's why she, as he said, she hardly or she never used the strength and the detachment she already possessed on inner levels. So she's here given the opportunity, you see, to adjust that through this contact here. To use the courage of the soul to function in all her relationships as a true sannyasi. the withdrawing energy of renunciation in this area and in this 8th house area, you see, are working and related to this process. Now, this is further indicated by the transiting nodal axes. You see them, 24 Gemini 18, over the solar arc Chiron, 24 Gemini 16. Okay? She needs to deal with a major resolution of karmic issues here also, and which would affect the whole of her life turning through the nodal axis here, you see. And this nodal axis actually the Chiron itself, 24 Gemini 16, is quincunx, the progressed Jupiter, her soul, secondary soul planet, at 24 Scorpio 18. So both nodal axes and the solar arc Chiron are contacting this secondary energy of the soul. Okay? And she has the opportunity to utilize that energy of the soul. Now, what is interesting that this axis of the Chiron here and of the Sun are related to the Aquarian Leo decanates. Aquarian in Gemini, Leo in Sagittarius. Okay? And bringing and strengthening the influence of the Sun, ruler of Leo, Uranus, ruler of Aquarius, and Jupiter, also esoteric ruler of Aquarius. So Jupiter and Uranus, rulers of Aquarian energy, and Sun, ruling Leo. Okay? Now you see the combination of the energies, Sun, Jupiter, and Uranus, those of you who are astrologers, is telling you immediately what a powerful, positive combination of energies this is to really, if consciously utilized, could really move the process a little bit further of that detachment, I mean. Because the natal Uranus, as we know, is in Sagittarian decanae of Leo. Okay? And it's ruler of the Sagittarian house, Uranus, yeah? Aquarius. And so, you see, this is adding all to the mental energies back through that Uranus. Which is emphasized from whichever direction we are looking here, of that mental detachment. The natal Sun, which he happens to be together with that Chiron in the Sagittarian decanate of Aries. Okay? It's adding to these relationships which are happening by transits and progression. Okay? And remember that Chiron, in relation to Sagittarius, represents the guide, the guiding energy, and becoming the soul and the master. Okay? On the higher term of the spiral. So, and Mars as the dispositor of all the Aries energy there, and of the Scorpio moon, where is also the ruler, brings further confirmation of the Sun-Moon aspects to that Uranus natally. Okay? So what was potentially there to be utilized, up to this moment this disciple has number of opportunities to do so, to move forward in that development of detachment and of becoming a sannyasi. Sometimes we say, you know, that why we should consider small transits as a moon and sun, but when they happen to contribute to something on the same day as here, where we see the transiting sun and Jupiter, the planets which are already involved here in the process, activating the ascendant-descendant axis. Okay? So they are important, you see. Even the moon transit to that Mercury in Gemini, you see, bring emphasis on that mental energy here. So I am just mentioning it as on the side here that we need to look at the minor transits also when we see that they are important. Okay? Now the transiting Uranus over here, we see at 5 Taurus 46, activates by semi-square the Uranus-Chiron midpoint, which happens to be in 20° Gemini 45. It means it makes exact semi-square to it. Okay? Uranus, Chiron. And this brings together mental and adjusting energies again. You see? So we need to first know what we should be looking for, because we find it. It is there. Only it needs to be discovered. Okay? Because DK, when he brings a topic in a particular instruction, he is relating that topic immediately to astrology, even he is not speaking astrologically about it. Okay? Because it has to align with the heaven. Now, I am going to bring on your screen another passage. Do you see it on your screen there?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So where he says, what lacks, when he was telling her, you know, about her strong, persistent quality, what lacks is something so simple to state and most difficult to express, because he said something lacks, right? This lack almost constitute your Waterloo, to use a current phrase. It is simply the failure to be detached. You tie yourself to those you love, and often the clinging hands of love can hinder progress. Not only our own, but also those we love. Do you realize that? As you live and love those in your immediate environment, do you ever ask yourself the question, am I strengthening them as souls to handle life and serve? Now this is in DINA 1, 5:16, okay? Now, I wish I didn't have to do this, but can you see a little bit this nature chart, that I don't have to do anything with it?
We can see it a little tiny bit. It's
Yeah. You see, DK is using the keyword Waterloo as a symbol of a battlefield, where as a soldier, she was losing the fight for detachment, represented by that Mars. As the ruler of Aries, and failure related to Scorpio. Where is the moon? Because its failure is usually dealt in Scorpio. And that Scorpio is ruled by Mars and Pluto, which are conjunct in Taurus, right? The sign of possessive love, desire, but also a directed will. Now Venus, the ruler of Taurus, is conjunct the Mars, right? And the Venus placement in Gemini reflects the words of DK when he talks about clinging hands of love. Gemini rule hands. Clinging, you know, the possessive love of that Taurian energy, where Venus is the ruler. And also representing love from one perspective. And the hindering process is evidenced by Saturn making square to this conjunction, Venus, Mars from Pisces. Interesting, same energy, 12-hour Pisces conjunction and Saturn in Pisces. Okay, we have discussed this previously from different perspectives in other webinars, right? And, you know, in this case, it's the weakness of that attachment in the 12th house energy. The Mars in the 12th house also bring karmic issues around assertion, will, war, courage, okay? and the karmic planet squaring that Mars, right? A lot of karma, and from Pisces. Something to be resolved and adjusted. That's why we see that Chiron transiting that area, okay? So she was afraid for those she loved, okay, with that moon in that Scorpio. And the fear, which is the area also related to that 12th house, you see, we have the connection here. And Venus rules the 12th house. It's ruled by Taurus and Gemini, where Venus is the esoteric ruler. So the energy had to be shifted to the soul in order to be constructively used and expressed. Now, hopefully, I will bring back the quadra wheel in one piece. All right. Okay. So you see, these energies which we looked at of the Venus, Mars, Pluto are now activated here. We have interpreted this alignment before in other webinars already, because this Pluto is moving very slowly back and forwards by transit, and it's going over the solar arc Mars, 28 Cancer, and progressed Venus in 27 Cancer, you see. But this is reflecting that natal combination of energies here, okay? Eventually, you know, the transiting Pluto will approach direct sextile to that 29 Mars 29. At the moment, it's transiting at 28 Cancer, okay? So, we will bring the wheel now to the 9. July. We see the progress moon is at that time. I am moving back and forwards here, so it's not in chronological order, is by where the energies are leading me. So we see the progress moon is still in 7th house at 20 degree, Capricorn 36. And it is in opposition the solar arc at 20 Cancer 35. You see that very close opposition. Bringing that Pluto together with that transiting Pluto into focal point, not only with Mars and Venus, but also with the moon, okay? And what I was going to say that the decanates here of the Cancer, Capricorn, exact opposition moon Pluto, happen to fall in Pisces, decade of Cancer, and Virgo, a decade of the moon. And these are ruled by Neptune-Pluto. We're coming back to that Neptune-Pluto midpoint and the triangles which contain them. You see? Transiting Venus is also involved with this. You see here? So we have Venus progress Pluto transit, Venus transit Pluto solar arc this time, and the moon included with it. That's why I am mentioning these even faster moving transits need to be watched. Okay? Now you see the transiting Mars over the progress Mars in 9-degree Cancer. And the transiting Uranus at 9-degree Taurus, making contact with both of those Mars there. Mars emphasizing that Uranus major Mars contact, which we already looked before, now from different not planets, but positions, okay? It's interesting that both Mars are in the Mars house. First house is the Aries house, even though it is ruled by the Cancer. You see, immediate relation of that Mars to the moon. Moon, which is the ruler of Cancer, and so is Neptune. And that brings the Mars-Neptune combination into focal point. Okay? And we remember that Mars-Neptune-Uranus triangle was involved also already. And transiting Saturn, 22 Pisces, 29, make sextile to the natal Pluto. You see, 22 Taurus, 23. Okay? And we must remember also with this Pluto-Saturn contact here that it is a very powerful first ray combination, bringing together with the Pluto and Vulcan energy of the will, which this disciple need to utilize, which we will mention just now when we're going to look at November 24, okay. Oh, the other way, 24. Okay. Now we look at the solar arc moon at 10:56 in Capricorn, which reached exactly, it's unfortunate you cannot see these midpoints unless you calculate them, because we don't have charts, which I happen to have created myself. The Mars-Pluto midpoints is found at 25 Taurus. You see, Mars-Pluto midpoint here would fall 25 Taurus 56. And you see where is this solar arc moon? Exactly at 10 Capricorn 56. It means it makes a sesqui quadrate to that midpoint. And we have a formation of a triangle moon, Mars-Pluto. And this brings the relation to Aries again and Scorpio through the rulership of the planets, and obviously to the Scorpio moon, right? Don't forget to mention the transit in Venus over this, okay? Automatically coming in relation to that Mars-Pluto. Interesting, isn't it? So you see, it was these energies she was battling within herself. And truly they represented her battleground of Waterloo within herself. She was not battling outside, but within. You see, this is important to realize here. And Moon in Scorpio and its dispositors Mars Pluto, you see, in that 12th house, okay, conjunct in Taurus, and 12th house, as I said, ruled by Taurus. So here we see the energies involved in the battle. She was battling within herself, okay? So whatever we need to resolve outside, we need to first resolve it inside. And only that, what should be expressed and experienced and utilized on the outer has to first manifest on the inner subjective level. That's why the powerful area of that subjective 12th house and Scorpio house. Okay? Now I will put on your screen another passage. I have numbered them myself, that I follow them, which is found in DINA 517, where DK says, your strengths and detachment have never yet been used. You see, he's saying it here. I ask you not cease from loving, but I ask you to love as a soul and less as a personality, because she loved all those near to her as personalities, not as souls. And so she was holding them, their soul, and herself also. As you read this, your inner truthful nature will respond. Your problem, let me repeat, is detachment. You are beginning to learn it, you see. He's saying that here she is beginning to learn it because she has to feel the energies, the power of the energies, particularly the will and activation of the soul courage that she started to move, okay, forward. It doesn't matter in how small measure. What makes your lesson doubly hard is the lack of a major activity and a dynamic interest which would engross your full attention. This, however, is your problem to be solved in some way. If you, as a soul, can take hold of your personality in a new and vital manner. Now you see, here we are learning that the achievement of a detachment for her is even more difficult because she doesn't have a full-time career, which would require her full attention and activity, and leave a little time for her continuous preoccupation with the family issues. Okay? And now I will need to bring again this little nature chart here. Sorry about this. Where we need to look, you see, about this career of hers. You see, career, I'm sure you know, if we want to check career, we need to check the 10th house or MC, okay, which in her case is conditioned by a Cancer decanate of Pisces. And the planets Moon, Jupiter, Neptune, and Pluto as the conditioning energies of Cancer and Pisces from different levels, obviously. And as you see, the energies involved on that midheaven bring focus on caring, nurturing, healing, along the line 246 rays, which she had very powerful, particularly the 6th ray conditioning her on 3 levels. 2nd ray soul, 6th ray of devotion predominating and caring. But also we find here the destructive will of the 1st ray Pluto conditioning the Pisces midheaven there, yes, as esoteric ruler of Pisces. And pure reason or pure love and Buddhic understanding of Neptune as the esoteric ruler of Cancer. Okay? Neptune, her most important planet as an esoteric ruler of a Cancer ascendant of the soul purpose, which are again coming together, Dharma and Ascendant. So she has made the care, duty, and responsibility of the Dharmic point there, of the family, her career. She was caring for her family full time. But she could change this if, as a soul, she take control of the personality which is represented here, particularly by that moon ruling Cancer, okay? And utilizing primarily the will of Pluto, but also of Vulcan, which most probably is found in Aries, even we can't say in where exactly, okay? Because Pluto, you see, it's related to that Vulcan there, okay? Vulcan would be dispositor of the Pluto in Taurus, okay? Because Vulcan is the esoteric ruler of Taurus, a very important energy in that 12th house area ruled by Taurus and the Mars, of course. So you see the importance of the will is emerging here, because that will shift enormously the energy which are stagnating, okay, and not moving. Now, we will look at the quadra wheel successfully, I see, bringing, we are more or less on the date where I want to see something, where we're going to look again at the solar arc moon at 10 Capricorn 56. With that, we just spoke actually about it, with that contact of the midpoint between Mars Pluto, okay, 25 Taurus 56. Because this moon Mars Pluto triangle is very important for us to look at from technical perspective also, you see. The natal Mars Pluto midpoint, this is for you astrologers who practice and really learning about it. I would like to share something of importance here through this midpoint in relation to that moon. Because this natal Mars-Pluto midpoint is one of those midpoints which don't fall on any natal planet as a potential circle here of birth, okay? I'm not saying this is the only one. It is one of those, okay? Which they don't have not ascendant on its midpoint, nothing, and no planets, okay? So they don't form a triangle. They stand only by themselves, and they are only activated by a transit or progression of any planet or point moving and making contact with that midpoint, okay? As in this case is the moon coming, okay? Because remember, I'm not mentioning to you all the midpoints which a planet has on it. Only I pick up that midpoint which is relevant to the topic, okay? Because some planets have number of midpoints, not only one. Now, does a planet which reaches this midpoint, as the moon here, creates with it immediately a triangle of energies, okay? And this planet comes to the peak of that triangle because this is its base, this Mars-Pluto midpoint, okay? And it's adding a very important energy in relation to our topic under discussion in this case, okay? And these three blend and circulate around the triangle. Every triangle which we have mentioned so far has a three energy circulating through that triangle, okay? And it is always the planet on the peak of that triangle which is continuously moving, right, with the different energies, which is the most important. Now we do know that a triangle is a symbol of the soul. And here comes the important point where midpoints forming triangles with other points are important. Because what we are learning through these triangles, we are accessing a soul energy in the chart, okay, which is not seen by just a look at the chart. We need to find it, we need to look for it, and we need to calculate. I mean, there is a program on Solar Fire which you find already calculated midpoints, okay? So, that's why I would recommend to those who are really into it, I mean, into the astrology, to look at this area and technique, okay? Because it gives so much information on a much deeper level than the personality or the obvious aspect which we see immediately calculated by the program, okay? The transits and so on. And that's why I'm bringing these particular dates where we have coming together a number of different energies together, but they are always utilizing midpoints. And we are not discussing all of them, okay? That's why I am focusing on the major and most important at today's, for example, topic, okay? Because when we're making the final judgment at the end, what does it all mean? It will make it easier for us, you see? Because we are putting then everything together, synthesizing the whole picture into one, okay? So, we must also remember that the moon for this disciple is veiling Neptune. And so, the triangle we are considering here, Mars, Pluto, Moon, becomes Mars, Pluto, Neptune. Okay? From different level of its energy. Okay? And we do know that her moon, natal moon, carries the midpoint of Neptune-Pluto. So this Mars-Pluto moon veiling Neptune now, it's emphasized the same energy, isn't it? And you see another confirmation of an energetic level, which from this higher perspective of the Neptune, you see, we need to consider also Virgo, where we have a transiting Neptune going, and where the moon is the esoteric ruler of Virgo, but also veiling Neptune for this disciple. But I would recommend this disciple to use also the Vulcan, which that moon is veiling as a ruler of Virgo. You see? Because she needs that Vulcan further energy here. She's utilizing it through the persistence. Yes. Yes. Okay? So, and what I was going to say, also, obviously, it is strengthening also the other triangles, Neptune, Pluto, Mars, Neptune, Pluto, Uranus. You remember when I was bringing up the planets at the peak of those triangles, where one of them was the Mars, bringing the energy, focal energy into the 12th house, and the other one was Neptune, bringing it in a different area of the 11th house, you see. So these are very important distinction and utilization of energies at the same time, okay? And so this is helping us to understand that in order for CDP to develop detachment and become a sannyasi, it would be also beneficial for her to have a career, right? And in order to do that, she had to utilize the will and courage of her soul to take control of the personality as a whole, as DK say, in a new and vital manner. Now, those of you who are versed in the symbological language here, the new and the vital is Uranus, okay? The etheric field, her devitalized etheric field has to be activated also. And which energies particularly condition etheric field is Gemini and Uranus primarily. So we are not surprised that these energies are the focal point of the chart by transits and progressions, okay? Now, slowly, if you have a little bit more patience, you know, we are getting to the end. I would like to bring now the wheel just to emphasize something further here, which we already, but to bring another strengthening point to it. 16. 16 and what is the month? December. Because we have here, you see, the same combination of energies which we already discussed. You see why I'm bringing this purely from the perspective of the Dharma. That the Dharma coming exactly the progressed MC on the moon exactly in Scorpio, because we were talking about her lack of career, okay? Because this has a relationship to that. Moon is the ruler of that Cancer decanate of Pisces, you see. And the MC in Taurus is bringing us Vulcan here in the will energy with it, to be utilized with that Pluto, esoteric ruler of Pisces, okay? So the progressed MC is on that moon is automatically activating that Neptune Pluto midpoint which the natal moon carries, okay? But now the Neptune Pluto we can consider in relation to her Dharma, to her career, because Neptune Pluto are the primary conditioning energies of that Cancer Pisces, midheaven here, okay? And so we have another relationship now. That's why I brought this particular aspect back again in relation to that career of hers, which DK is speaking about, that, you know, it is her problem to do something about it, okay? So she needs to work on this herself, okay? And you see, again, the moon is in Pisces decanate, okay, of Scorpio. And so the Pluto, again, first ray, strengthening as ruler of Scorpio and Pisces there, okay? Now this indicates that she started to utilize to some degree the will, because she has all the power of the astrological energies present here, okay? And together with Uranus, which is also powerfully involved, you know, move in the development of the detachment, and obviously becoming the sannyasi. This reflects also the DK's keyword, that she's beginning to learn it, you know, as I said. It is the dynamic first ray energy, you see, which need to be activated, okay? Now, I am going to put the final extraction on your screen, number 4, where he says this: I can but give you a word and one hint. Let not your physical body dictate you. Physical disability is the refuge sometimes of those who feel that their lives do not provide them with that which they desire. Or it is the refuge of those who feel that they failed upon the way. You have not failed, my brother. Will you not become more actively the participator and the active cooperator? One thing only can prevent this, not ill health or circumstances, but a failure to be detached. Will you follow each day, not necessarily at night, a review upon detachment? And will you do it conscientiously in the holy and silent place which we call your garden? Now, this is in DINA 1, 5, 16, 17. Now you see, he is bringing another important point here. He is giving her only a hint how to solve it and approach it, okay? And he is hinting that she was allowing her physical body unduly, unnecessarily too much controlling her life. And she was hiding behind her physical disability and even her failure to be more active, because she maybe was saying, well, you know, I am not physically able to be more active or to participate or have even a full career. The other contributory factor was her failure to be detached then from her physical body. Okay? So as you see the process of the sannyasi here, dealing with all three bodies, all three energies have to be readjusted through the inner mental withdrawal process on the mental level, on a mental plane, okay? It was not only, as she thought, her astral body, her emotional attachments. And physical disability was one of her many glamours. And actually it had no organic problem or disease, as DK was telling her in the, we will see in the future instruction to come yet. So if she took DK's advice and occupied herself with the work of the hierarchy upon the mental plane, where she built her garden and carried it down to the physical plane, it would release her physically. Okay? So, Moon, Mars and Cancer are primarily conditioning energies of the physical body. In her case, Moon is veiling Neptune, as we know, as the primarily energy of the sixth ray, conditioning her physical body together with the Mars. We're coming back to that Mars-Neptune combination, okay? Because her strong devotion and attachment, as we know, though she loved, and a strong dependency and attachment. She was afraid to be alone. But she had to face the type of aloneness which is each disciple has to go in order to take particularly the second initiation. And that required not only detachment but discrimination. And as I have mentioned earlier, she lacked both. She needed to develop them, okay? So, it is not easy for her to become an active participator with the Mars as the ruler of Aries and of Scorpio, ruling her sixth house of health, by the way. Okay, then we bring that quadra-wheel for the last time, maybe. You know, a Mars in the 12th house, ruling sixth house of health, Scorpio house. Here, that's what I was going to point out to you, right? That, you know, in the 12th house of seclusion and refuge, like almost hiding there, okay? And not moving or difficult to move, you know? Taurus, it's sometimes quite lazy energy also. It moves very slowly and it needs to be pushed. And the pushing energy is her will for her, okay? So, because you see, prior to or around the second initiation, there is a feeling of deep dissatisfaction about things as they are in one's life. And quite a painful realization of failure. And it is, you know, this point that the disciple begins to learn how to deal rightly with failure, which is associated primarily with Scorpio, ruled by Mars. Okay? And we have already discussed Uranus as an important planetary influence, okay? Not only from a perspective of the mental detachment, but from perspective of controlling the glamour of the Mars Neptune midpoint, and in relation to the quality of persistence, okay? And so from the perspective of the physical body, which, conditioned by the 6th ray, transmitted through Mars and Neptune, we find, that midpoint exactly on the Uranus in Leo, 15 Leo 54. So Uranus is also involved as a detaching energy from the physical body. And we come to the end. Thank you for your patience and attention. It was a little bit longer, but I am pleased, we have concluded this topic, and a major issue of these 7th instructions. If there is any comment or questions, please, the floor is open.
I don't see any questions yet, but you had an awful lot there for people to ponder, so.
Yes, BL, I did, didn't I?
Yes, it was very
Yes.
good. Thank you. Here we go. Thank you from Ninka.
Thank you for being here.
Suzanne says, thank you for your wisdom and service. It's always enlightening. And
Thank you,
thanks
Susan.
to Joe.
Good to see you.
Michael has his hand up. Hold on.
Yes.
Please
Michael,
go
with
ahead.
all your Gemini, I was expecting you come to contribute something.
I just wanted to thank for another extraordinary presentation and display of an amazing analytical presentation of just so much information.
Thank you,
it's
Michael.
Wow.
Yes, well, I am sure you take to take something from it and continue with it and add to it and so on. Yeah.
I
try. It's.
I want to ask how many of you are going to go home and start looking at all your midpoints now?
All of us.
Although this is not the first time Elena has brought them to our attention, but but
I have more emphasized them on this webinar from the perspective of the triangles and the soul energy which they carry behind them. So maybe this will bring more interest, to maybe look at it. All one needs is time, because it's a time-consuming process. But there is an astrological program available, Solar Fire, which I never used myself, because I have other things which I set up here myself manually and so on, but it's rather quick also for me. But it saves time. The program saves time. So, but I value the participation of you people, that maybe you're getting some hints about something or aspired to look into something which you never thought you would, but maybe it's time. It's a very good tool.
Michael,
what you're doing, Elena, is what you're doing, Elena, is a great teaching tool for all of us. It's fantastic.
Exactly.
Thank you, Michael.
Exactly.
Well, that is my my motive, to inspire, to share some approaches, techniques, and how to look at the chart and how to bring things together and so on. Because at the end, the synthesizing, you know, we cannot learn in any book. It has to come from a higher level somehow, you know. And the intuitive insight on top of the knowledge and the analytical process is very important also.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have a couple of more thank yous, one from Michael and one from Anne. Anne says, so fascinating.
Thank you, Anne.
Okay, well, if there's no more comments or questions.
Well, it was too much to take in. I always say that, you know, one needs to go back to it you know, and really look at it more slowly and ponder.
Yes, but now we have the techniques to do so.
Okay.
Thank you again, and good night, everybody. I'm going to really quickly unmute everyone just so everyone can say goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Yes, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Blessings to everyone.
Blessings, blessings. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Good
Bye.
night. Good morning.
Thank